Now, this last panel will focus on the response of external actors, whether regional or extra-regional, to the Arab uprisings from 2010 until today, taking as case studies the reaction of Arab countries with Suhaim from Doha Institute, Qatar case study with Marwan, EU and its reaction to the Eastern Europe with Stephen, United States and the Arab Spring countries, mainly Egypt with Marina, and Ivan will also contribute with an analysis on the socioeconomic responses of Europe to the Arab Spring countries. Each one is given 50 minutes. Myself, I'll take only 10 minutes for making some preliminary remarks. I shall not dive into sophisticated and detailed analysis on the interaction between external and regional dynamics of in post-Arab Spring. But it may be useful to dwell on a few considerations of general character in a bid to pave the way for in-depth analysis by the panelists and the following discussion and debate. As you know, Arab sub-regional subsystems have been, since 1945, described as polarized and penetrated. Polarized systems and penetrated political systems. By polarized, I mean the division of the Arab countries between big and small demographically, between rentier, para-rentier, and poor countries economically, between geographically centralized and geographically decentralized countries, by republican and monarchical regimes for many years. By penetrated political system, we intend in political science a system that is constantly submitted to foreign agenda, subordinated to external interests. This penetration prompted what I used to call the three G's: geography, geology, and geotheology. Geography means the geographic centrality of the region has increased since many decades. The geostrategic importance of the region at the intersection of three continents. All the geopoliticians from Mahan, Mackinder, Hans Hofer, Vidal de la Blache, all those who studied geopolitical research studies know these names. All of them focused on the geopolitical and geostrategic interest of our region. Geology endowed our region with huge natural resources, which are indispensable until now to the world economy, and which add to the commercial activity of our markets, mainly arms purchases, of which we are the main purchaser. Finally, geotheology, which is a term which has been coined by a French philosopher, Paul Ricoeur, means that our region has been a cradle of civilization and also the cradle of the three monotheism, which means that any event in our region is never confined to our region. I mean, they spill over other spaces. And there, the case study is the Arab-Israeli conflict. Given this premise, external actors since 1945 endeavored to set foot in the region, to recruit allies, to pursue geostrategic interests. Policies were interest and security driven while paying lip service to democratic reform. During and after the Cold War, Europe, as well as the United States, entertained cozy relations with authoritarian regimes. This is no secret, regardless of their bad record in the question of governance and in the question of human rights. Arab regimes have been divided during the Cold War into camps, pro-Soviet and pro-American. As a matter of fact, you don't have two Arab neighbors in the same camp, almost, with the exception of the Gulf Emirates and monarchs. Morocco pro-American, Algeria pro-Soviet, Tunisia pro-American, Libya Gaddafi pro-Soviet, Nasser's Egypt pro-Soviet, Nasser's Mubarak's Egypt pro-American, the Gulf pro-American, Syria pro-Soviet, Iraq pro-Soviet until Saddam Hussein. Arab regimes, therefore, have been divided into camps. After the Cold War, there has been another classification which has been imposed on us by the Americans mainly. The Arab world have been classified in 4 categories: moderate states, friendly states, rogue states, and failed states. The closer you are to the United States, the more moderate you are perceived. In political science, such classification does not exist. What means in political science a moderate state? We don't have this terminology. So this classification does not have a democratic content. A moderate country can be authoritarian, repressive, corrupt, and exclusionary, and yet an ally of the European Union and the United States. If it coordinates with external powers, if it preserves external interests, stability, flow of oil, control of illegal migration, fight against against terrorism, and if it adopts accommodating policies with regard to Israel, whether through peace treaties, Egypt, Jordan, or whether engaging in some forms of normalization. To put it in a nutshell, the prioritization of security and stability to the detriment of political reform has been instrumental in the longevity of authoritarianism in the Arab world. It is the external factor, beyond the internal factors of which we spoke in the last 2 days. At the same time, this what we call democratization, securitization dilemma casted a shadow on the very coherence of the European and American discourse of political reform, leading to accusation of double standards. Take the example of Palestinian elections in 2006. So while the US and the EU in their discourse saw themselves or presented themselves as transformative powers, in reality, their policies have been geared toward conservative policies preserving the status quo. I can cite American experts on that, but read the articles of Gregory Gause 3 to understand what I am saying. Whether Arab regimes have themselves invited foreign interference because of their incapacity by themselves to safeguard their security and even the survival of their regime as in the Gulf, it is a question which deserves further attention. And I am sure that Suhaim and Marwan will come to these issues. So the Arab uprising took external actors off guard and came as a wake-up call. Let me quote an American author. For the United States, the attraction advantages of supporting democracy abroad must be balanced against their strategic interests and against the difficulty of sponsoring transitions that will inevitably entail a degree of disruption, if not instability. The European response, to which I am devoting my next book, Europe and the Arab World, Post-Arab Spring, the European response was swift, As you know, or some of you know, that the European response was enshrined in two communications of the Commission, one in March 2011 entitled Partnership for Democracy and Shared Prosperity, and the second, 2 months later, New Response to a Changing Environment. These two key documents made clear the main policy goals of the European Union: money, market, mobility. We are going to provide money, we are going to open our markets to your exports, and we are open to manage collectively the question of the flows of migration. Money, market, mobility. Well, I discussed this issue extensively in the next book, so I am not going to dwell on this. Does this constitute a new response sufficiently adequate to the transitional countries? My answer is no. I am impatient to listen to my colleagues also on these issues. Stephen will speak about Europe and the Eastern European countries, eventually also by touching upon the Arab countries themselves. So other Arab countries reacted also to the Arab Spring, some with fear, others with sowing in the Arab Spring a challenge and an opportunity. Qatar, for example, exhibited a hyper-activism, diplomatic activism, labeled by some analysts as outsized diplomacy, leading to fractures in the Gulf Cooperation Council. I am sure that Marwan will shed light on this specific issue of Qatar, explaining to us the drivers of Qatar diplomatic activism. While Marina will tackle more specifically the relations, ambiguous, problematic relations between the United States and Egypt post-Arab Spring, to such problematic, to such an extent that the Americans found many difficulty to describe and qualify what happened in July 2013, whether was it a coup or not. These short remarks, my dear friends, I took 10 minutes only as promised. These short remarks are only a stepping stone for in-depth analysis by the panelists, but so without further detail, I give the floor to the first